Welcome to the Gals Guide podcast. Join us on an adventure to get to know famous and infamous women from around the world. Each of our presenters has a pick. Is she ancient history? Is she breaking news? Is she safe for work? Well, that's up to each presenter. All we know is that...
Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
Welcome back. I'm Debbie, and I'm joined by Rewo, Katie, and Bonnie, sharing our American Farmer pick. Bonnie already talked about Ruth Stout, but before we dive back, I want to get to know something random about our gal pals. I also want to learn to speak.
It's hard. Drinking's easier.
Yeah. Okay, what I want to know is, have you ever visited or worked on a farm?
I mean, we were all going to point to the lady wearing the t-shirt first, which is Bonnie on this.
Yeah.
Our local Tuttle's Orchard. I'm trying to think of where they're technically... Their address is probably technically Greenfield, Indiana?
Gotcha.
Like,
It could be Indianapolis, though?
Well, it kind of sits kind of in between Greenfield and McCordsville.
Right.
There's another little chunk in there that I think is... is it called Maxwell?
Okay.
That's kind of just a little chunk in there. It's probably Greenfield.
Okay. It's out there.
Yes.
But yeah, it's kind of off
It's in
of
Indiana.
70. Like, the closest highway exit is going to be Greenfield.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
gosh, it's kind of a little bit north of Mount Comfort, too.
Yeah.
Am I Googling this?
It's in the middle of farmland.
Tuttle. That's what I'm Googling. We have all of
like
this technology.
200 north and 500 or 600.
Greenfield, Indiana for
Da-da-da.
the win. There we go.
Ba-ba-da. No, we go to that one as often as we can.
Yeah.
Because they, not only do they have, like, their main thing that they are known for is the apple orchard.
Yum.
So their big season is fall.
Yeah.
But they also will do the pumpkins.
Sweet.
Too, in the fall. But they year-round have a little farm store where they get things from farms from all of Indiana.
Ah, like a farmer's market.
Kind of. But they'll have,
Yeah.
they'll have meat and juice and produce.
Ah,
And they'll even have, like, candy and stuff.
cute.
It reminds me of, we used to drive down to Evansville, and we would go 70 to 41, and somewhere along 41 there, I think near Vincennes, there's a place called the Giant Peach, and they have, like, a giant paper-mache peach outside.
Oh, wow.
Cute. Yes.
But
there you
it
go.
was like a big old like a indoor farmer's market thing.
Oh.
Well, it was big when I was a little kid.
Of course. Everything's
sure
big
it's
when
not
we're
that
little.
big,
Yes,
but-
exactly. Yes. Oh, this is very true. Sweet.
So that's my big, besides the
Yeah.
farm in my backyard.
Right, exactly. Bonnie's farm, yeah.
Well, I grew up in a smaller town, Madison, Indiana, that had a lot of farms and a lot of farmland. So I definitely spent my childhood visiting friends whose families had farms. Not necessarily working them, but running around or getting on the four-wheelers.
Yes. I had
Trying to
friends
find...
who had those. I was so jelly. Yes.
Right. Just general mayhem you can create as a kid with that much open space. And of course, I love myself a good orchard, pumpkin. There's Stuckies up north is what we have. And that sounds familiar. They have apple cider slushies.
Yep.
Ooh,
So
that sounds good.
That's where I'm going to have to get.
I could add vodka to that.
You could. You should.
Yes.
And then the other thing that I still regret that I never went and visited, but for a while in his early 20s, my brother worked at a farm of pomegranate trees.
Really?
Yes. He took care of he went out to Nevada with somebody else that knew of this opportunity, and they lived in this man's house that he didn't live there, and he took care of their peacocks and their pomegranates.
I remember the peacock part. I don't know why I didn't remember the pomegranate part. Probably because, taking care of aggressive birds. I'll
I feel
remember
like
that.
this is a tongue twister children's book where it's a pomegranate. It's Phil's farm of pomegranates, peacocks.
Were they called the Potters or the...
I'm going to have to ask him if he remembers that guy's name. I mean, I would assume he lived in his house for a couple years, but...
I kind of hope, yeah.
When you go to Nevada and farm pomegranates.
Things happen.
Yeah. I wish that was my story, but...
I take it. I don't have a lot of farm stories because my dad grew up on a farm. And so it's... The road is actually named after them, and they got out of the farm early on, and I never really asked why. They moved to the big city of Minneapolis, so I don't know if it's like they sold the farm or they just decided to do something different, or who knows why. But I think because my dad grew up on a farm, as kids, we didn't go to many of them. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, he's like, I got out of a farm, so why would I bring my kids for enjoyment to the thing that I got out of?
Yeah.
But I grew up in Michigan, so apple orchards and cherries. So we would go to places just to get basically the good apples, the good apple cider. I'm still living down the maple syrup trees from that one episode when I talked about maple syrup trees. My husband will not let that one go. So there was a lot of like fresh foods and stuff and farmers around, but I didn't spend a lot of time at on a farm, I think, for reasons of evolution. That's why I'm also jelly of the four-wheelers. Because
Right.
my friends were like, oh, yeah, we were totally hitting at the farm with the four-wheelers and go-karts. And I'm like, oh!
There's drawbacks,
Suburbs.
though. I also took a bunch of swim lessons out in the country.
Yeah.
And they have the biggest horse flies that would bite you in the pool.
Yeah,
You
that's
go under
true.
the water.
Yeah.
There's dangers. There's dangers on the farm.
Yes.
Oh my
there
gosh,
are.
and this is probably insensitive, but it's been a lot of time, so I think I can go there.
Yeah.
Does not everybody have somebody in the family tree that got rolled over on by a tractor and that's how they died?
I mean, maybe that's the reason why my father moved off the farm. I
have
don't know.
somebody. Yeah.
Grain silos are apparently
yeah.
really deadly because you
Now
just
that-
get like sucked
Yep.
in,
Yeah.
and you just can't get out.
There's no way
Yeah.
to get you out of there. Yeah.
There's something. It's just I forget. It was a higher number than I thought of how many
of accidents.
people die
yeah.
in grain silos
Oof.
every year.
Yeah.
That's the one that I was always threatened with when we were on the farm. Because, yes.
See, and your
Here's
answer
the
is
thing.
yes, you were on
My
the farm.
answer is yes, because this city girl, apartment queen, the one that freaked out when I got married because I was going to have to marry a house with a mortgage instead of being able to call the landlord to fix everything, actually was born and grew up on a farm. Well, grew
Nice.
up for a little bit. I mean, we moved away when I was really young, but still went back to visit it because it was my grandfather's farm.
Nice.
And out in the middle of nowhere in Amish country. And for years, I would entertain my friends with the fact that we could watch the Amish kids go to school. Mom would sit and would talk about watching the kids walk to school barefooted until the snow was actually on the ground.
Ah.
And that you'd go downtown and you'd see horse and buggies like tied up to the parking meters. And people
Nice.
thought I was lying.
Oh,
They're
no,
like,
totally say it.
no, that's not true. It's really not like that. And so I went back there like 10 years ago, and they still tie the horse and buggies up to the parking meters. And I'm like, yes, I'm syndicated.
See? I love it. Yes.
Yes. Amish
I
country,
believed
Ohio
you the
for
whole
the
time.
win.
There you go.
I can confirm this because my parents took us on a lovely Amish excursion for Christmas, and
Ooh.
I've seen it.
See?
It's real life.
I mean, it's where you're supposed to park. So, I mean,
Yeah.
Well, I'm just wondering. Most of the parking meters nowadays are digital. Like you pay for them
True.
with your phone.
They
right.
don't have to pay for them.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're just using it to
Yeah.
tie
And
up.
the local
Yeah.
grocery store has two entrances. There's the regular parking lot in the front for the cars, and then there's another entrance in the back with a second completely separate parking lot, so the horse and buggies the horses don't get spooked by the
Yeah.
cars.
Right. Exactly.
It's
yes.
very cool.
Oh, nice.
So-
I like it. Yay. Debbie's farm fun for the win. Look at that.
Yeah.
Well, who do you have for us, darling?
Not an Amish farmer.
Oh, there you go. Yes,
Right.
mixing it up.
I am actually talking about the Walnut Queen,
the Walnut Queen.
Harriet Williams Russell Strong.
Ooh.
It's funny that was the first name I came across, and I'm like, you never pick your first, right? You just got to
Maybe,
keep shopping around.
yeah.
I could not let go of her because she's. The more I read about her, the more I was like, this is a kindred spirit, or the kindred spirit I would be if I had fulfilled my potential the way she did.
Gotcha.
Because I don't do all that stuff, but I have
There
the
is still
same
time.
interest in music and theater. She was, she had spinal issues when she was younger.
Gotcha.
Like, that will actually come up later.
Oh.
But she was known as a fragile, delicate person
Gotcha.
until she wasn't.
Ooh, nice.
But She was not only a farmer, she was also an inventor, a philanthropist, a suffragist, and a women's rights activist.
Love all those things, yes.
Yeah, it was very cool. So she was born Harriet Williams Russell. She was born July 23, 1844 in Buffalo, New York.
Gotcha.
She moved to California in 1852 and attended school at the Young Ladies Seminary in Benicia, California.
The young ladies, huh?
Yes, which is now Mills College.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah. So then she moved again in 1861 to Carson City, Nevada. Her whole family moved there.
Ah.
And 2 years later, she married Charles Lyman Strong. She was 19. He was 37.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I'm all about age ain't nothing but a number, but
yeah.
damn.
Nobody ever...
That's a big number.
Yeah. Nobody ever said
yeah.
she married for money, but he was a successful banker and a publisher. He owns 7 silver mines, people.
Okay. You know...
Don't be messing around with those men who only own 6 silver mines.
Exactly. This is very true. He owns 7.
7. But he was working really hard to get everything done. He ended up overdoing it. His health tanked.
Aww.
So they moved to San Gabriel Valley, California.
Nice.
And they bought a 325-acre estate.
Whoa.
Named it Ranchito del Fuerte, which means the Ranch of the Strong. Nice pun.
Yes, I like it.
So then he got bored.
Okay, sure.
So he tried some new business ventures. They weren't going well. He bought another mine. Turns out they'd salted it, which is where they throw some silver in there.
Oh.
So that you think it's successful and it's not.
Got it.
To try and save himself financially, he secretly borrowed against the estate.
Oof.
That didn't go well.
Yeah.
He ended up committing suicide in 1883.
Oh.
This leaves Harriet 39 years old. She's not even there. She's gone back to Philadelphia to get treatments from this very famous neurophysiologist or whatever it was. That was... so she was in the middle of a 6-month treatment.
Was it for her spine?
For her spine.
Oh.
And her daughters said she was going to come home, and her daughters say, no, you need this. Yeah. It's working. Stay there. So she did. Fun fact, the same doctor that treated her also treated Charlotte Perkins Gilman. If you don't know that name.
Yeah.
If you've ever read the book or seen the play, The Yellow Wallpaper.
Yeah, it was a short story club pick back in the day. Yeah.
Same doctor.
Ooh.
So some very problematic therapies, but it worked for her.
Okay, yeah.
Because she comes back, she's 39, she's got 4 daughters, she's got this estate that is, not only are the crops failing because...
Nobody's paying attention to it?
Nobody's paying attention to it, plus she's on high mesa, so there's not a lot of water.
Oh, okay.
And they're trying to grow like corn and, wheat and all this stuff, and it's just failing. Plus, she's got all this money, all this debt on the estate.
Yeah.
And the business investors are trying to take it away from her.
Oh.
And for 8 years.
Oh, wow.
This was in court for 8 years before she finally was able to pay off the debt.
Gotcha.
But in the meantime, she's like, I've got to make money now. So she started researching horticulture. She started talking to the ranchers around there. Mm-hmm. What works, what doesn't work. Asking about water and soil and crops and marketing.
Yeah.
She landed on walnuts.
Ah, all right.
And looking back on that time later, she was asked about it. She said, I had the courage of ignorance and plenty of determination to back it up.
There you go.
My attitude was that of a humble searcher after the truth. So she starts working on walnuts, which the problem with walnuts is you need a lot of water. Again, high mesa, there isn't much.
Right.
So she designed an irrigation system with water storage and a whole thing. Oh. Got a patent on it in 1887.
That's the inventing part.
That's the part of the inventing part. Yep.
Nice.
She brought that estate up to the leading commercial grower of walnuts in the United States.
Nice.
Became the Walnut Queen. She also traditionally, in between walnut trees, you would plant like corn or something like that. She's like, no, I need something that's going to get me some money. So she started growing pampas grass.
Oh, okay.
Which is the big fluffy things you see, and I'm doing gestures that nobody can see, but
We can see it, but on the
imagine
podcast
on the
world,
podcast,
yes.
imagine me
Tall.
doing these grand gestures of tall. This stuff grows to like 10 feet tall.
Nice. It's kind of like the beach grass sort of thing.
Yeah,
They kind
Ish.
of look like grass feathers.
Yeah.
kinda.
Well, and that's
okay.
the thing. They used it as, instead of ostrich feathers, which were very expensive, they would use them to decorate hats and make wreaths. And actually, the Republican convention, and the Democratic conventions in 1892 and 1896 used pampas grass as part of their decor.
Oh, okay. Give that idea of probably that American farmer that
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
makes sense.
one, and I of course don't remember because I didn't write that down. One of them used it just plain, and one of them dyed it different colors.
Oh, it's very pretty.
Yeah.
Okay,
it
that
is.
one's
Like at
made into
weddings.
almost a dress.
Yeah, and I have links to send you to
Yes,
put on.
I will
for
put in show
pictures
notes.
and show notes and all that.
Sweet. Look at that.
And she not only sold all across the U.S., she imported it or exported it to Europe.
Nice.
Like I said, it grows really, really fast. It grows really, really big.
Mhm.
It's a really, really quick money maker. However, it grows so big and so fast that it's an invasive species.
Oh, it could take
They'd
over.
actually brought it up from South America. They're like, please, so please don't use that these days, people, to grow pampas grass. But while it was still okay for her to use it, she was invited to go to the 1893 Columbia Exposition,
Yeah.
aka Chicago World's Fair,
Right.
and she built the Pampas Plume Palace,
Oh, wow.
which is basically this cottage thing
A
out of
house?
pampas grass.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
neat.
And it
Like a
actually
straw
won awards.
house.
Yeah.
Okay,
So it's
yeah.
very cool.
Nice.
There are pictures.
Mhm.
And she also won an award at the fair she did an exhibit of her dam and storage reservoirs, her irrigation
like
system.
filtration, irrigation system.
She is the only woman to win more than one award at the Chicago World's Fair.
Ooh.
Because she won an award for that too.
Nice.
So, very cool.
Yeah. Okay,
She also, while she was there, spoke at a Congress on business training for women and urged them to learn. She said, when the majority of women understand the business methods of the world, they will be asked to assist in the affairs of government. Hey, look, it's finally starting to happen.
I know, right? How long has
Finally.
it been?
Yes.
But yay, we're here.
Yeah. But by this time, it's 1893.
Yeah.
Her husband's been gone for 10 years. The debt's paid. So now she turns her efforts to water irrigation and conservation on a larger scale.
Yeah.
She starts writing articles on water conservation, flood control districts, and constructing these big systems.
Yeah.
She actually started drilling wells for irrigation, and then she incorporated the Paso de Bartolo Water Company to manage the water in the area.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
It was run by herself and two of her daughters.
And you're talking about California water too, right?
California water.
Okay, because I
Yeah.
watched Chinatown.
Yeah.
Controlling the water in California is a big business.
Yeah. And when she was talking to the bank about funding for it, he's like, this would go over really well if it wasn't run by three women.
Of course.
And she said, well, it's run by three women.
Yes.
And it turned out it was really successful, and people were buying the bonds and everything, and it went really well. And she eventually sold the company a few years later, made a handsome profit.
Nice.
So that was cool.
Mhm.
But she kept writing these articles, and nobody was listening.
Mm.
We don't need to worry about this. And then in 1914, just as one of her articles came out, they had the worst flooding they'd had in decades. And LA County was just totally flooded. All of a sudden, people start listening.
Yeah.
Oh,
What do you
maybe
do with water?
We do need to do something about flood control.
Yeah.
And so they start writing laws to do it, and then who's going to pay for it? Well, LA County is like, well, it should be the farmers that pay for it and not us. We're city people. We don't have anything to do with that.
Mm-hmm.
So she helped form the San Gabriel Valley Landowners League, and to make sure that the cost was equitably distributed over the entire valley, And because everybody had to deal with the flooding, everybody should help pay for it.
Right. And it can benefit
Yeah.
everybody if they work together as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, she also showed up at a meeting and discovered there's no women's clubs that have been allowed to be here.
Right.
At the Southern Counties Flood Control Association,
Yeah.
you need the women involved as well.
Mm-hmm.
So she fought and got that done as well. So women got to be part of the discussion.
Yay.
And then she decided to go even bigger.
Ah.
So in 1917, she goes to Congress.
Oh.
And she comes up with this, she's designed this plan to dam the Colorado River
Okay.
at
Yeah.
the lower end of it, at the lower end of the Grand Canyon, to help with flood control and water irrigation and electricity and all this stuff. And then they could grow enough food to help the Allies and the civilian war victims.
Because we're looking at World War I at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Goes back in 1918, talking about flood control and hydroelectric dams. This could really work, people.
Ah, nice.
And of course, nobody listened.
Yeah.
Her quote was, "The author, for the first time in the history of engineering and in the history of searching for electric power, gave a plan for utilizing the water power of the Grand Canyon of the Colorado. The only objection to the plan is said to be, it was thought of by a woman."
This is why we can't have nice things.
Yeah, well, guess what? She wasn't wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Because 1928, they approved this thing called the Hoover Dam.
Right, exactly.
That was her idea.
It was, yeah.
Her
But it had a
dam.
guy's name on it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
along with the All-American Canal. Yeah, 1922, two guys come up with this thing.
Right.
Hey, look, let's dam off the Colorado River and build this big thing. And so, yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. So she was also really big into women's rights. She was a member of the National American Women's Suffrage Association. She traveled for a while with Susan B. Anthony and even had her for a visit to the Rancho del Fuerte in 1895.
Nice.
And she became the first president of the Feminist Business League of America.
Ooh, I like it.
She also, there's a group called EBEL of Los Angeles. It's an educational philanthropic organization founded by women for women in 1894.
Wow.
She co-founded and was the first president. Served like 3 terms. And there's a lovely write-up on their website. Meet her founder, Harriet Strong. It's very cool. She suggested that every city should have at least one dry goods store and one bank owned by women.
Yes.
In these establishments, other women could receive practical business training that would make them highly eligible for jobs with full pay. She also said every year, one male member of their bank's board of directors should be retired and replaced by a woman.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it'd be nice if that had happened.
I know. Such a sound idea, though.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, some of her accomplishments and accolades and everything, she's a member, she was inducted into the National Women's Hall of Fame,
Sweet.
the National Inventors Hall of Fame.
Yay.
She not only had the patent I mentioned, she's actually got 5 patents that we know of. She did there's a device that she did back when she was still fragile and invalid and all that.
Yeah.
This bar with a hook on it for helping to raise and lower a window sash without having to hurt yourself.
Right, there you go. Nice.
And a holder for the sash. She did a hook and eye that looks suspiciously like the hook and eye that's sitting on all our bras right now.
Interesting.
And so some of these were filed during her fragile, delicate years.
Right.
But she's doing all
Of
these
inventing
cool
things.
inventions.
Yeah.
And she published a number of songs and a book of musical sketches. She was the vice president of Los Angeles Symphony Association.
Nice.
And here's all her first females. First female member of the LA Chamber of Commerce.
Ooh.
First female on the executive board of the Inland Waterways Association of San Francisco. First female delegate to the U.S. Chamber of Commerce Convention. That was in 1918. That's before we could even vote.
Right, yeah.
And she was the first female trustee of the University of Southern California Law School.
Oh, look at that.
Everything was going great. She's doing all this great stuff. And then she's going home one day, September 26, 1926, gets in a car accident, thrown from the car, dies instantly.
Whew.
End of story.
Aw.
Very sad.
Aw.
But while she was alive, she was amazing.
She did a lot.
She did a lot.
Wow.
So by this time she's... Oh, I did not do the math.
Oh, you're good. Yeah.
1944.
Math is usually
She's
not the...
82.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Yes. That's
Thank
a
you.
long life.
Car
and-
accident in 26.
Yeah.
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 Like,
She
they
was
probably
driving.
weren't wearing seatbelts, but I'm like, they're
Oh, yeah,
probably
yeah.
only going 20 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Right, but it's still
But-
enough to
Yeah.
eject you from
But they're
the car.
also, you know,
Mhm.
all
Yeah.
metal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but she hit the pavement, hit her head on the pavement, and
Oof.
died instantly.
Oh, goodness
So-
gracious. Yeah.
Um,
Oof.
so, anybody have any questions?
I think she sounds amazing.
I was going to say that was very
Yeah.
thorough and super cool.
Yeah.
She's
I'm
cool.
gonna start calling it the Harry Russell Strong Dam instead of the Hoover Dam.
I know,
now.
right?
Yeah, I
Exactly.
know.
Yes. I think that's wonderful. I dig it. I dig it. Do you want to wrap us up,
I
Charlie?
do.
Fantastic.
That wraps it up for this week. Join us next week as another American farmer is picked. No
I
plot
know.
puns intended.
Love it.
To share as Gal's Guide podcast continues. Thanks for listening.
Want to learn about more women of history? Gal's Guide opened a unique women's history lending library. Come visit and explore our collection. Learn more at galsguide.org. Thanks for listening.